Tēnei ake te mihi kia koutou katoa. Hei mā taki mai koutou ki tēnei o tātou wāhanga e pāna ki te mate uruta. Pia haere ngai Māori me haere ki mua. Kei roro te maru o tēnei mate. Pēhea te āhuatanga o tō tātou ao, te ao Māori. Pēhea te haerenga mō tātou. Nō reira tēnei ake te mihi kia koutou. Nō reira huri au i te reo papa, ki te whakamohio au kia koutou katoa. Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Michael Naera and I'm the Advocacy and Alliance Specialist for the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand. And whilst I have two board members here from the New Zealand Foundation, the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand, we'll be talking about a range of things today, in particular the impacts of COVID-19 on Māori communities, on Māori in general. Today I've got Adrian Te Patu here. Adrian is the representative, the Asian and Pacific representative for the World Federation on Public Health. He is also a public health specialist and well recognised throughout the country. And just on a lighter note, Adrian is a fantastic MC, and you only hear about his Ham Hunt wrap-up session, so that's pretty good for me. Huri au ki tēnei o tātou whaia, whanganui, rawatahi no whanganui. So mihi atu nei kia koe Kiritahi. Kiritahi is the CEO of Kimi Ora Trust, and she is so passionate about suicide prevention for Māori, in particular looking after our rangatahi moving forward. But of late, she has become a television star, looking at working with her son to look at organic gardening and living off the land and so forth and so forth. So welcome to you, Kiritahi.
Tēnā koe, Michael, me o karangatanga maakiranga i a koe. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe. How about we start with you, Whaia? Well, I guess what we want to do is focus this particular session on Māori public health. Māori public health goes into various streams. Not only is it in policy, it's also in mitigating risks, and it's also in public health and community level as well. So I want to start like this, Kiritahi. How is your bubble?
Kei te pai taku miru miru. Kei te ora taku miru miru. A kua aere au ki te taone i te rānei, ka nui ake taku miru miru. Ai aere au ki Pack and Save, okona e te imea kai ki reira. The miru miru here at home is awesome. I've loved it, and I actually want to stay in the miru miru that we've strengthened here at home with my whānau. And of course I went into town today just to go and get a few things, and I saw, it was just a little bit different. You know, I actually didn't want to be in there, but you know, the wheels have to keep turning, and I just hope that our country doesn't step backwards as we're in level 2. But my miru miru here has strengthened my family simply because we have you know, been just doing the rules of thumb here at home. You know, we have a block that we have to maintain with our animals living sustainably off papatuanuku and off the palmu. And I loved it because we were all together. We were working together as a family, which really helped pick up our wairua. And from that, when we knew that that Artwi was going to happen, my girl was in Wellington, my piki te ora, she's 19, and she didn't really, as a rangatai, see the realities of what would happen. She wanted to stay there. And I tried everything I possibly could as a mother to get her home. I even wanted to go to her employer and say, I want you to sack her on the spot so she could come home to to us. I cried and I did this and I did that. I was wanting to turn off her power and turn off her phone. Simply the things that we do as mothers and parents. But I was able to, at the 11th hour, drive down to Wellington at 8 o'clock at night. We got home at 3 o'clock in the morning and she was home. What I loved about that was she was able to see what her role is in maintaining our family rangatiratanga and maintaining what we have then, of course, shown other whānau around the motu, and that is to grow kai. Because, Michael, and our whānau listening, now is the time when we need those skills, those fundamental skills around mara kai, growing from the seed to the mara to the plate, so we can feed out whānau. And it's not just the practical kai, but it's the kai wairua and the kai inengaro. Because when we're working together as a family, planting the seeds, we're having a kōrero, we're sitting together, we're not on social media, we're actually a kanoe, a kiko, a tinana. And that's what I loved about it. And I impressed that upon my daughter. I says, look, I love you with all my heart, and I'm so pleased you and I are sitting down doing this together. Even though every part of you wants to be back with your mates and back at your ma'i in Wellington, you're here with us now, helping us to really feel safe and secure. So, you know, that's all part of whānau ora. The true sense of what whānau ora is to us. Because, you know, I was born and raised and raised up at Kaitwaiki Marae, where we're pa kids. And mara kai was fundamental for us. If we wanted to have a feed, we'd, you know, of course, go and have a swim down the awa. Then our lunch would be, we'd jump on Kuikasi's tree, we'd go and get some peaches and some plums, and we'd be sitting up there having a kai. And I thought to myself, wow, you know, these are the skills I wanted to share with my family, with others who want to learn. And so from that time, over the 6 or 7 week period, we've been sharing every day a small snippet of what whānau can do to feed their family, what they can do with the tapu-tapus that are in their home. For example, saving seed. For example, being able to make aporo penu, you know, with the apples, because now was the ideal time to harvest for our babies, instead of having to go in and buy the packets. Or, for example, saving the taiwa, or going down and being able to appropriate the watercress or look after the patches, right down to us sharing how you start off your mara from scratch. And so it's been a wonderful journey, because those were my passions, being brought up, you know, born and raised on the marae. Mum was a gardener, but she was also a social service. And that's what I realized was, hey, it's a full circle. When when working in suicide prevention or domestic violence protection or sexual violence protection, one of the rongoa for me, and it became so clear, was marakai, was sustainability. Showing our whānau how they can heal from the hurts of the past by working together with our tāne and our wāene, with our children. And, you know, when you pick up a seed and you look at that seed and you think to yourself, far out, from this one seed, I can grow a broccoli. From this one little nodule, I can grow a broccoli. And I can do that by working together with my family, putting my hands in papatuanuku, looking after that seed. And that's the kaitiakitanga. And when we can share those skills with our whānau who sometimes have been so traumatized, it brings back the humanity in a person. It brings back the manaakitanga we have to sit together, to karakia over our kai, and to realise I've got to look after this just like a baby until I can harvest that hauhake, that kai. And I've loved that. That to me is mental well-being, something that I want to continue to pass on.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic, Whaia. Really inspirational, you know, talking about taking a little seed and then growing it to a level where it feeds all our whānau across our communities, in fact, across our motu. And food sovereignty is a a major part of that, having Māori go back to planting their own kai, to relying on the maramataka, to relying on the stars, the sun, and so forth. I just want to bring in Adrian on this kōrero. Firstly, Adrian, I just wanted to firstly ask you how your miru is, or your bubble is. But I know that you work at a global level around indigenous public health. Maybe if you want to kōrero about that and tie that into COVID, what does that mean in terms of Māori and indigenous public health during COVID-19?
Kia ora. Tuakia ke te mea atu. Kia koutou ui mai nei tēnei ai no reira tēnā no tātou katoa. Thank you, Michael. And it's lovely being here with Kiritahi. Can I say, you know, one of the things about that we both come from Whanganui. You know, I'm from the bottom end of the river with Kiritahi and Kiritahi's mum, but also from the mid-reaches. And so it's always lovely. And so we share with the opportunity to be part of the governance process of the Mental Health Foundation. So it's really great. And we're really stoked that, that it has people like you, Michael, with the organisation as well. And who else could have brought such a stellar array of leaders together? So it's very humbling. Kiritahi and I were talking about it. Very humbling for us to be able to participate, kind of in the shadow of such wonderful people that you put together around this time. You know, can I just say, in terms of public health and health promotion, you know, I can remember a few years ago when Tom Mason Jury said, actually, you know, whānau order is health promotion is whānau order. You know, so I kind of had the opportunity and the privilege of moving from mental health promotion, from mental health into mental health promotion. And then I kind of realized and found out that public health, you know, whatever that means, and health promotion particularly are probably some of the most important or most significant parts of whole to help our people on that journey of recovery in terms of being better, but also you know, it just reinforces what we do and who we are. So can I say, you know, one of the things that's really obvious, particularly in the last however long it's been, it kind of feels like months really, but from the build up all the way through when we first started to see in the last couple of months about what this virus was looking like. And I just pause there and go, you know, everybody who works in public health globally knew this was going to happen. As they say in health, this is a very unremarkable situation. And so, you know, when you think about it, you know, if people look at stuff in television and the movies and online, and they look at what Pākehā people call the apocalyptic dystopian future, you know, the end of the world stuff, you know, it was never going to be werewolves. It was never going to be vampires. You know, it was never going to be zombies. It was always going to be something. And can I say, we've also known that there was a probability it was going to come from China, not actually because China is China, but you've got more moving parts, you know, like a quarter of the world's population. So we knew that something like that was going to happen. And so, so I'll just go on to where we fit as a nation. So I think, irrespective of where people are, I think people are pretty glad that we've had the kind of leadership in terms of the government or coalition government, and we've had it to lead us through that part at a national level. But the bonus and the real true gold is how our people have magnificently done the things that we prepared ourselves for, mai rā, you know. So two ways to look at that. You know, traditionally, this is how we are. Also, you know, we're used to being in places of poverty and deprivation, and what's now talked about a lot in terms of inequities. You know, coming from that place is not as challenging for us as it is for other members of our nation. So in many ways, we didn't have to move very far. But what we've also done is actually looked after ourselves in a way that we like to think we would have. And I can see it, you know, each of our families and all our whānau are having Zoom chats and things like that, right across my own family, my Whanganui family. We're all having almost daily or every other day Zoom chats, and we use 5 time zones, so that's just for those from Western Australia all the way through to here, and a few other spots. And I think that's what people are doing. But I want to say, you know, if there's something that really ultimately is everything that epitomizes who and what we are, it's probably tangihanga. And the way we've been really gracious and really brave, and it's not about engaging and involving technology, embracing that, it's easy, you know, find a 7-year-old. It's really around the fact that we have bravely stuck to the plan, because we're really good like that. We're really good like that. And so what we've done is we've embraced them now. We've modified some of those things the way our old people do. Can I say, someone asked me recently in an interview around embracing technology, and I said, you know, when you walk into some of the meeting houses, and many of the traditional meeting houses, you know, all the carvings there must have been a similar kind of conversation with our old people around embracing the technology of photography, you know, and that which has been going on to replace tupuna in terms of whakairo, the transition of that. So in many ways, we've been adopting as required as much as we can while maintaining our traditions anyway. So I want to say that, you know, public health is like that. Public health is about embracing what really is and actually, you know, helping and modify with some of those other things that have happened. So it's really good. And again, as you kind of, as is obvious, Kiritahi and, you know, their son has become a megastar, and it's fantastic. I know so many people that have started, you know, have their own mana now that have never had one before, or returning to those things. So there's all these kind of things that are going on, and I think that we've done it very, very well as a people, and those are the things. We have practiced for this for a long time. We didn't call it that, we didn't need to call it that, but this is what it is to be Māori. And the last thing around this is, you know, I lived in Christchurch and in Canterbury for over 25 years. And and I was in local government as an elected member before and through the first quakes. And one of those things about Christchurch is, Christchurch kind of behaved like we like to think New Zealanders would in that process. This is a bigger, even bigger, and our people have done the things that we always thought that we could, because it's what we do. It's what we do. The last thing on that doesn't mean that the new normal we have to take for granted. What it really is, you know, our societies are becoming could become a fairer and better place, and our influence as Māori is a really important part of that.
Yeah, ka pai. You mentioned being panatai, and I wanted to bring in Kiritahi on this, a megastar, absolute megastar. And of course, all you guys from Whanganui are megastars, of course.
Oh, I need to be very humbled about that. Stop it.
So there are various levels to public health, you know, from policy right through. I wondered if you want to talk about your megastar panatahi and the types of things, because you are handing panatahi some taonga down, so that when eventually you pass on fire, you'll be able to pass that knowledge down to his whānau. So maybe we hand it over to you.
Yeah, kia ora. You're so right. We've been focusing on succession planning, the things that my mum and our kuia and koro eke taught us. And so, you know, it's just something we wanted, my husband and I wanted to make sure we would do, so that if that happened, if we were to, you know, mate, want to know that he and, you know, whoever else can survive. And, you know, I guess it's kind of focused on how my husband was raised. He was raised on, you know, back in the back blocks of Pari O'o, where, you know, they would have to walk in and stand in the cow tutai just to keep their feet warm, and utilise all the resources around them. I was brought up on our marae, not so, you know, remote as that. But when you merged us together, you were able to kind of solidify a package where it shows our boy and whoever else is around us that we can show him how to cook a kai in a camp oven. We can show him how to, you know, make a fire so that if he's stuck in the bush, he'll know how to wakama'ana tana tinana. He'll know how to go and get a tuna, or he'll know the maramataka or the rongoa Māori, so that he can then share that. It was also focused on the fact that we have many of our kids who are not made for the school system. It teaches them so many different things that aren't them. It doesn't bring out, some of the kura don't bring out their passions. And we knew for our son, he was different. He was affected by, he's our wāngai son, but he was affected by alcohol fetal syndrome, and he's affected by all that taumaatanga. And we didn't want to define him clinically. And he's shining because we're opening up the door for him to see te taiao, and also to be a warrior to make sure that our planet will continue to survive, because we only have one.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe you want to let everyone know how they get onto the Facebook page.
Yeah, look, e te whānau, please just, you know, feel free to Google or to go on Facebook and just go Being Panatai. And it's purely just, you know, little adventures that we have around our area. There are sessions where he's, you know, learning how to make pepi pata or a rongoa with kawakawa. We're going into some beekeeping as well. You know, plucking the chickens, these are the things that you got to do. And also it's about being able to say to our kids, look, aia a tērā kawereo, aia a tērā roro iko, aia a fortnight mo te wā. You know, we haven't shown him fortnight yet, but I'm sure he wants to get on. I mean, there are pros and cons to how we live. But for us, it was about just not living extravagantly, showing him that consumerism doesn't always, you know, pave the way for us. Showing him too that we must be grateful for what we have. We must be always grateful. Me koe momo te kai. You know, we've got to think about the kids in other parts of the world that have no kai. So we eat what's on the plate, but we grow what's on the plate. And a lot of that still is, you know, and I say that with the most sincerity in my heart, is that we want them to look after our planet, our taiao, look after our awatupua, look after themselves, I roto I te reo, our tikanga Māori, being able to have all of those skills where they can shine and be the best we can be, because that's whānau ora to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian, you mentioned whānau ora as a public health framework. I wanted to, I guess I'll just ask you straight, because do we have public health epidemiologists and public health scientists and public health nurses on the front line? Because I didn't see any of our people during COVID-19. Maybe you would have a kōrero about that, or maybe not.
Yeah, look, you know, it's kind of like a lot of things. So, you know, if we were to ask how many doctors there are who are Māori today, one thing we can say is there'll probably be 40 graduates from Otago, 40 graduates from Auckland this year who are Māori. If you were to ask most people, if you ask how many Māori graduates there were who are like now in their 70s, well, you know, there weren't many. There weren't many psychiatrists, there weren't many psychologists, and there are lots of other arenas where the door's kind of been closed. And so one of the last places people were ever going to be is in this particular part of public health. So, you know, in public health, you've got kind of health protection. And so, you know, those are people who have kind of acts of parliament that make sure that the water's right. And sometimes you hear people on TV, see them on TV. And so Ramon Pink is a Māori doctor who's a Māori public health physician who's one of these people. So they've kind of got an act of parliament behind them as well as their profession. And so when you see Ashley Bloomfield, who's become, you know, a mega star in the last 6 weeks, he's another one of those doctors who become the medical officers who kind of lead that stuff. And then you've got the doctors, or the people with PhDs, academic doctors who are specialists and essentially are researchers and epidemiologists as well. And then you've got ones who are both of those. And so, you know, there are people around that have been leaders in this place for a long time, and the numbers are growing exponentially, eh? And so that's what's happened. Can I say that there's probably been not as much emphasis in this arena as there has been a couple of decades ago. So now I feel like public health is becoming more sexy. And now with the kind of people that we're seeing, every other person's an epidemiologist. And actually, our people are really good at that. You know, it's just really getting a handle on what things look like and what they're trending like as well, and adding science, because we mustn't be afraid of white science or paleo science. You know, we know many of these things by other terms, you know. So when Kiritahi and that are doing their stuff in their mara, when they're looking at the seasonal stuff, you know, Pākehā, Chau Pākehā have all those things going, similar kind of things, reference to it. You know, it's returning to those things that we know really, really well. So there is an increase in the number of people who work scientifically in the arena of public health. And I just come back to the original and the constant public health workers are probably nurses. And so you've got nurses, researchers, and now we've got academics, and we've got doctors. And those are the four of the faces. And it's fantastic.
Just to interject there, I attended the World Congress on Public Health in Melbourne, and when we had that hui, the round table, the yarning circle, there were very, very few indigenous peoples as part of the public health arena. My hope is that that increases for us, so that we have a face up the front where we maybe we become the Ashley Bloomfields, you know, and all this. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so part of that thing around, look, the more people that graduate as doctors, in one sense, is the better, eh? Becoming a GP, becoming a general practitioner, a doctor in a, you know, to people, is actually, there are probably not as many as we really, really want. And in an ideal world, that's what you'd want. More of our people becoming general practitioners. And there are a few around. There's this wonderful young woman who works for Ngati Hine, and it's fantastic. The problem is you don't want them to carry all the load. And so, yeah, we need more and more people to come through the general practice side. And actually, general practitioners, you know, it's not a money thing, but they don't make as much as the flash specialists. And so it's a lot of training to go down there. They're truly committed. And that's why in a lot of our communities, we have other kind of doctors that come through. But we want them to be doctors that come back to, and GPs that move into public health would be ideal at that end. In the meantime, we're kind of growing the craft, and that, you know, that's kind of fantastic, really. It's getting bigger and bigger. Public health, it works.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. And I can vouch for that, being a public health specialist myself. I just wanted to ask both of you, and maybe we start with you, Kiritahi, around the cultural distress that's been going on, and Adrian touched on it, around our tangianga, around hongi and hugging and kihi, even around childbirth, that only the mum could go in and birth the child without the family. Do you have any kōrero around that? What are the things that you noticed in your rohe around the cultural distress for our whānau?
Well, one of our aunties passed away in Whanganui here at the very beginnings of the Rāui, and her tangi was at one of the undertakers. What I noticed about that, it was very sterile. It was at the very beginnings of the tangianga kōrero. And I felt my cousin's pain, because you've got someone who doesn't really understand our world, even though ngā kaupai rātou, the undertakers and their kaimai, they had control of the button. They could press record and they could let us in. So if you can visualize a lot of our whānau zooming in, we couldn't hear anything because they muted us. They muted the kōrero. And all we could see was just our auntie, you know, the tūpapaku, 4 of my cousins. And I felt aroa, I really did. Because as the process, as the tangianga happened, we couldn't waiata, we couldn't karanga, we couldn't be part of that process. And when it all finished, when they took her out, it was just stop. Leave the meeting. Now that was just, you know, I even got a lump in my throat because of that. And I thought, Ari te pai tērā. And that's why I really appreciated my cousin Che and the rest of our cousins, you know, developing the tangianga protocol. And I appreciated too that what they would then do, particularly for Ngāti Rangi and Whanganui now, is they would take our whānau through a crash course in what we have to do. On the other side of the coin, I wanted to also make sure that we protect our wakapapa, koira te mea nui. And if we have to kind of, you know, step back a little bit from having a ariru or a karo or whatever, or rungi, then I'm prepared to do that personally, so I can make sure that my kaumātua will still remain here for my son, or for our tamariki mokopuna to come. Mo te wā, mo te wā. I was really grateful for Matua Tāmei Ana talking about the different pandemics in your previous kōrero to him, in the interview to him, because it gave me a perspective on the things that happened, you know, the different chronological aspects of that. We knew now in this pandemic that our wakapapa will continue to survive because we're taking all those measures. We're closing off our borders. We're saying to our whānau, kati mo te wā. Not mo ake tonu atu, engari mo te wā. So I still feel that wakaro, as I was mentioning in the beginning of my discussion, when I went into Pack and Save to go and get some stuff, you know, I still had my thing over my mouth, even though no one else did. I did, because I wanted to protect our wakapapa. It's an important discussion.
And I know, Awhai, you know, the stories that you're bringing up are the stories the same in Te Arawa, the same up in Ngāpui, you know, the pain that's occurred within inside our people, you know, not being able to touch and tangi and be there. I attended a funeral of a Scottish man, and he was married to a Filipino, and same mamai, you know, only given an hour to be with her husband, and then the body being taken away. So that hurts. What about you, Adrian? Because I know with your involvement at an international level, you obviously have been part of other Indigenous people's culture as well. Do you think they'll be experiencing the same?
Yeah, look, it can also acknowledge, you know, we lost our brother-in-law, and so what was really, really lovely that worked and helped for us was Ngāti Tupoho helped as an iwi, and then organised the technical stuff, and so we had people for each day, you know, so we tune in for karakia, and then all the way through to burying them at Putiki. And by that time, you know, I think there'd been enough stuff for people to be able to accommodate and do the best that they could, given the challenging situation. So that's not me being diplomatic. That's me just, again, you know, to whakamana how brave our people were in embracing processes. So some of the stuff that we know that's going on. So look, we're as you've mentioned, involved in stuff globally every week with relative to the World Federation of Public Health Associations. We're also connecting with other people, other Indigenous brothers and sisters across the nation. can I just say one of the things that's also different for us is that here in Aotearoa, we probably have more influence in local government and central government than most other Indigenous folk on the planet. So probably more so, you know, in the United States, and, you know, you've been there with the challenge that they've had to face where you've got federal issues around that. So, you know, their issues are our issues. So a lot of the stuff is the same stuff that we've probably got slightly more influence. I'm not saying that we should be grateful and that it's better, but that's part of our reality. And so, however, the hurts are the same, and so the extension of that, I'm seeing, particularly in North America, some of the stuff that friends and colleagues have been talking about, the same things that happen. It's also different if you're living on some of the reservations that are away, because you're able to take care of stuff. So if I just step out slightly sideways, you know, in Brazil, a lot of those people have been living in the ancient ways for many have only just come out into the West. A lot of them are going back into the Amazon, where they're safer, and then they practice their traditional tikanga. And I don't want to kind of make it too scientific, but you know, there are about 400 million people on this planet who identify as being Indigenous, and most of them don't live in nations like ours. And so, but you know, a lot of them are going back into those places that are really strong, and haven't had to have the lockdown situation the same as those of us in developed countries, particularly. But it's the same feelings, same stuff.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Really enjoying this conversation. So I want to talk to you, Whaia. Let's move on, because I know you've got a hui shortly. So where are the opportunities? I guess you've talked about the opportunities with your marakai and being panatai and all those things to do with the whanganui and where are the crises? You know, what are the opportunities for Māori?
Concept for Paerangi Tupua. That's where our Ngārouru, our Whanganui and our Ngāti iwi have joined forces together. And over the Rāui period, we saw our whānau, our iwi, pull together and share kai atu our kaumātua tiakina te whānau katoa, which is amazing. What I believe we can be doing now is we're all shovel ready. There's this catchphrase now, being shovel ready. We've been shovel ready for a long time. We need to be investing now in going back to the land, setting up our commercial nurseries and feeding our whānau that way. Because we're in level 2 and we're still buying in all the kai. We're still doing that. Why don't we, in terms of the opportunities, contract our people to do all of that so we can then feed the rest of our whānau? 1, it brings us together. 2, it provides employment. 3, it helps us with our mental health issues. We can be utilising our whānau who, you know, who are affected by, you know, who are on the cusp of going into prisons. PD workers, e rāmea, my brothers and sisters who are looking for mai. There are huge opportunities from this. And I believe that this Rāui has taught us that we now must invest in our own people. As with the budget, put that to people like us. You know, what scares me right now is that we've got millions of dollars being filtered into different ways, different areas from the budget announcement last week. My fear is, will that money still go to the same old factions, the same old people who, in reality, aren't actually Māori, aren't actually us? You know, and so that's my challenge, is to refilter the pūtea to grassroots initiatives like us, which is why I love being on the Mental Health Foundation board. Is that I decided, I said yes to come on that board because, you know, of my grassrootsness, if that's what you want to call it. Working with our people at the ground. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to be involved in the Mental Health Foundation. That's why I'm so proud to be alongside Mike Whanonga Adrian with his plethora of knowledge. And also that's why I'm so proud that we're actually doing something totally different with the Mental Health Foundation now. We're reaching out to the amazing icons of Te Ao Māori and saying, "E a tō waka aroa, kia wakapiki ai a tātou te Māori." Ana.
Oh, boy. That was pretty mean. I'm not too sure if I'm supposed to say mean on this broadcast, but kei te pai, I'm running the show. I just wanted to talk to you about the opportunities for you, Adrian. Where do you think that is on a national front?
Yeah, look, again, it's become obvious that front and centre and looking sexy for the first time in a long time, public health and epidemiology in particular has become a kind of one of those things that people want to be involved in. Can I just remind us that all this public health stuff, it's just an extension of being Māori anyway. And so for those who've been in Hauora for a long time, there was a big build-up in the Māori health workforce, and that was in Māori mental health. And there was this big upsurge, and of course, that was the traditional background of Masonry, eh? And then after that, there was a large increase in terms of workforce development, as they would call it, Suddenly there were a lot of Māori health workers, and many of them were in health promotion, eh? And so, hey, that's the other place that he specialises in, mental health and then public health. And so, we should follow wherever he goes because it's a winner. And so, all of those kind of things, to acknowledge that. So this is a really important arena. And one of the things that's happening is that, one of the questions is, what do Māori look like today? And what are we going to look like in the future is kind of what I think you're kind of asking as well. Can I just say that if you asked many of our leaders 30 and 40 years ago, what Te Ao Māori would look like, and it doesn't matter where they come from, whether it was Don Rangiho, whether it's Sir James Henare, Māori Marsden, whether it was leaders from all across the mutu, what Te Ao Māori would look like, I'm not convinced that they could possibly imagine what it looks like today for us. Eh? There was only one wānanga and it was assigned to Victoria University of Wellington. Now, the number of people that attend Māori wānanga outstrips many of the others, right? So that's a whole new world. So I guess I'm saying what it's going to look like in the future includes a significant number of people embracing and extending what we do really well anyway. And so public health and health promotion, particularly, it lends itself to being Māori. And that's why I go back to what Mason Jury said. He was absolutely right. He knew it, that actually, whānau ora is health promotion of whānau, from putting a Pākehā Eurocentric reference to it. And in reality, we do it really well. It's an extension of what we do. Kiritahi practices it every day and then puts her flash gear on and turns up in Wellington and Auckland and all these lovely governance roles because that's getting all of those things happening. So I'm really excited about what we look like and what we're going to look like in the future, but I'm also realistic. All these things are hard fought for gains and they can be lost very easily if we don't maintain the pressure to keep these things in the right place. Otherwise, they can just be set sideways. And I think Kiritahi alluded to that and important things happen in the budget, important things will come out of Wellington, or as I call them, the canyons of power in Wellington, But actually, some of those things that are important to us could be siphoned or drifted away. So that kind of looks like it's supporting where we're going. So we maintain the pressure, we make sure that the hard fought for gains that by many of our leaders before and currently who are leading us and at every level are maintained. So everything's looking better.
Atu, e pāna ki tō kōrua whenua, tō kōrua aua, tō kōrua mokopuna, no reira mi atu nei ki a koe. Any last words from you, Adrian?
Ko tēnei te mea ki a koe, Michael, Kiritahi hoki. Thank you once again, Michael. And you know, every chance I get to spend with Kiritahi is a bonus. And so, in fact, I'm going to be heading down there in the next couple of days. And so, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for bringing us together through the Mental Health Foundation, an organisation that we truly believe in. And also, it's really lovely to be able to have the privilege of being able to speak in this particular forum. Tēnā koe, tēnā koe tau.
Tēnā kōrua. Tēnā kōrua mō kōrero i te ai pōnei. Tō kōrero e pāna ki o kōrua pūkenga, e pāna ki te hauora, e pāna ki te oranga o wera ahuatanga katoa, te rereketanga ki ngai Pākehā, wera ahuatanga katoa. Nō reira, he tino hihiri taku ngākau, he tino hihiri taku ngākau i whiwhi ai tēnei kōrero kia mātou, kia tātou, te iwi o te motu nei. Nō reira, tēnā koutou. Te iwi, thank you for being with us here today. I'd like to thank Adrian Te Patu and Kiritahi Firmin for spending time with us this afternoon. It's absolutely fantastic kōrero, without a doubt. Nō reira, Māori tu Māori ora, tihei Māori ora. Ka kite anō.